All right, all right. We are live, and y'all know I don't do lives, but I'm telling you, I was moved in my spirit to do this live, and so I'm going to obey God and go ahead and do it. I have come just because I had so much in my spirit, and I'm sitting up here praying, and I'm praying for people, and I'm praying that God will bring resolution to different situations. And I tell you, the Lord just shook me and said, I want you to go after those people. And the scripture came to me from Ezekiel, and we're just going to read just a couple of maybe a few verses out of the book of Ezekiel. I'm going to put it up here for you. Ezekiel 37, and it's the first of the 10th verse, and I might not even read all that. But just like I said, we're not waiting on folk to come in. You know how we get on here and say, oh, I'm going to wait on everybody to come in. I'm not waiting on nobody to come in. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to believe that this word is going to find the person that it's supposed to find. Ezekiel is a prophet of God. He's been sent. The Lord actually takes him up in the spirit, carries him out into the valley of dry bones. Y'all done heard this before, but you may not have heard the way I'm giving it to you today, because this message, this word is about to come for somebody. And it talks about how the Lord has taken Ezekiel, put him up into the valley. It causes him to look out into this large valley of nothing but dry bones. Verse 4 says, well, verse 2 says the bones were not just dry, they were very dry. I don't want to read it all. You go back and read it. But verse 2 says they were very dry. And verse 4 says, and again, he said unto me, prophesy unto these bones, say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the word of the Lord unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath. That's the first time he says breath, to enter into you, and you shall live. You can't live without breath. Somebody said, well, that don't sound right. Well, it is right, because oxygen is not the thing that keeps us alive. You don't believe me? Go take an oxygen tank and hook it up to a dead man and see if he come back to life. It is the breath of God that has been breathed on the inside of us that gives us life. And in the next verse it says, and I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded. That's what I'm doing today. I'm prophesying as I was commanded. And I prophesied. When I prophesied, there was a noise. In other words, when you speak the word of God, when you prophesy over somebody's life, when you come in the name of the Lord, there should be some change. There should be some change rattling. So he said, there was a noise, and behold, there was a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. Let's go down a little bit. No, I'm going to go ahead and read the 8th verse. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them above, and there was no breath in them. I just told you, it is not oxygen that gives us life. It is the breath of God. So although they had skin and they had sinew on them, if they had no breath, they were walking dead men. So he said all of that stuff had come together, but they still didn't have any breath in them. In other words, it don't matter how good you look. If you don't have the breath of God, if the favor of God is not on your life, you're a walking dead man. But verse 9 said it like this. He said, then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind. Come on now. Prophesy, son of man, and say unto the wind, thus saith the Lord. Now, he's saying, I'm giving you power to go and speak to the wind from the four corners of the earth. Tell the wind, speak to the wind and say, thus saith the Lord God, come for these slain. I came for the slain today. I came to pull you out of whatever hole that you're in today. He said, prophesy unto them and say to them, come, I've come for the slain that they may live. Okay, verse 10, this is where we're finna go. So I prophesied as he commanded me. See, it takes obedience. It takes obedience in everything. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived. So it was breath that caused them to live, and they lived. And the Bible said they stood upon their feet, and there was an exceeding great army. You know what that tells me? That tells me that there's a great army sitting in the valley of dry bones, that is waiting for somebody to prophesy to them. There is an army waiting for somebody to come for them. There is an army that think that God has forgotten about them. There's an army of people that think that God has forgotten about where they're at. They think that they're in a situation, in a circumstance that's so far removed from God that God would never send anybody after me. Oh, but I come to tell you today, God sent me to prophesy to your situation. God sent me to let you know that you're not even in the valley by yourself. My God. The Lord let me know today that there are so many, as we're sitting in our beautiful homes and sitting in our beautiful churches, and we look like we got it made on social media. But there are people that are dying and they're hurting and they're in pain and they feel like everybody has the favor of God on their life but them. Because after all, when you look at social media, it looks like we all got it together. But don't believe the hype. I come to prophesy to you today that no matter how dry your situation may be, no matter what it looks like, I decree that the breath of God will breathe life back into your situation. My God, somebody is saying, I don't even know how I got here. Pastor Pat, if I could say how I got here, I wouldn't be able to tell you. It does not matter how you got there. See, you hung up on the semantics of things. It don't even matter how you got there. It does not matter to God how you got there. What matters is, do you want to come out? Do you really want to come out? Let me just appeal to this thing. Let me just say this. Sometimes we don't know how we got in a place because we have said to ourselves there are lines that we would never cross. There are things that we would never do. You remember Peter said, I would never deny you, not me, not me. I would never do that. But there are lines that we have said we will never cross. And what has happened is because of the society and the culture that we're living in, we think that we haven't crossed the line because we can still see the line. But may I submit to you that you crossed the line a long time ago because what you were doing in all actuality is moving the line back. So it appears that you never crossed it because you can still see it. You know, religious folks say they ain't crossed the line because they can still see the line. But it is only because the line has been moved further and further back to those things that we will and will not tolerate, those things that we will and will not do. But I came to tell you today, it does not matter how you got where you're at. The Lord sent me to let you know that no matter how dry your situation is, that we have the power to speak to your situation. And if you're just willing to come out, all you got to do is hear the word of the Lord today. Let me tell you about this. A few years ago, me and some friends flew in from Texas. And we decided we were all going on a boat ride, right? So we rented the boat. We prepared to go out on the boat. Now, my friends from Texas have never really been to Florida, so they don't know anything about the waterways, the highways, none of the ways, right? So we rent this boat, and Apostle is the one that's going to be driving the boat. Now, mind you, he knows how to drive the boat. He's driven a boat before, has no fear about driving the boat. But he does not know the waterways or our channels, right? And probably he was leaning into us that are from this area and know the landmarks to maybe be able to get us back. So we weren't really worried about coming back. And we even got my husband on the boat who knows Jacksonville like the back of his hand, right? Well, he knows the highways. He does not as fisherman. He don't go out on the water. He don't really know the water. So we're all out in this boat and we're having a good time. It's sunny days. It's beautiful. We're just laughing and enjoying each other's company. And we pull up alongside of Shah Khan's great massive boat, if you would even call it that, yacht, whatever you call it. It's massive. And we're just in awe of how big and how beautiful it is. And we kind of get out toward the waters where we want to sit at, and we cut the engine off. And we just sit and we talk and we enjoy each other, so much so that we've forgotten about our surroundings and where we're at. We've sat there so long, and just stick with me because I'm going somewhere. But we've sat there so long and enjoyed one another so long and been so disconnected with what is really going on around us until when we look up, although the engine was off, We have drifted so far from where the place that we originally turned the engine off and began to just sit. We've drifted so far from that place till we look around and say, how in the world did we get this far away? That's what has happened to some of you. You've drifted so far from the things of God, from the things that you know are right and wrong, because you've gotten so caught up in the culture. And the culture has said that right is wrong and wrong is right. And you've drifted so far till you don't even know how you got as far away from God as you did. And here's the thing. Although we knew the highways because we are used to driving the highways in Jacksonville, we knew nothing about the waterways. I never drove no boat. I don't know nothing about the waterways. And so when we get ready to find our way back to where we launched from, we're turned around. How many of them felt like you were trying to find your way back to God, back to where the last place you remember you left him at? And you're trying to find your way back, and it almost seems pointless, almost seems useless. You still turned around. You don't know how you got there or how to get back to God. May I submit to you that the Lord has sent his messenger to you today to prophesy that if you hear my voice and you listen to the call of God, you'll find your way back today. My God, may I say that this is your last day in the valley of dry bones if you will hear the word of the Lord. So we get so far away from where we originally docked the boat, where we originally landed at, so we don't know really how to get back. But somebody in the boat had been taking pictures of landmarks so we can remember how to get back where we're at. Sometimes you got to make sure you know who's in your ear, because if the person that's in your ear is in the boat with you or in the same situation that you're in, how then can they help you get back to shore when all of y'all out there in the water? That's another message all by itself. Oh my God. But because we did not know the waterways, see, the highway and the waterway required me looking from two different perspectives. I navigated the highway, but I've never navigated the waterway. And sometimes the people that are speaking in your life have navigated the highways, but they've never navigated the waterways. And they're trying to get you back to a place that they've never been to their own selves. My God. But I come to tell you, it is time for you to get back on course. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Stop feeling like God left you. It's just like when I used to tell my children, we would go in the grocery store and you can't do this no more. You got to keep an eye on them at all times because the enemy is out to take our children. But there was a time when I was raising my children and we would be in the grocery store and I would be on the shelf, trying to look for whatever it is I'm looking for to put in my buggy, and they wander off. And then when they come back around and they find me, they cry. Now, mind you, I've been looking for them too. But when they find me, I want them to feel the fear of not knowing where I'm at, so they won't do that no more. So when they find me, they're, mama, 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 I was looking for you. Well, my answer to them was, I was not lost. I was just where you left me at, on aisle 2, where you left me at. And God is saying, I was never lost. I was just where you left me at, waiting on you to come back. God has not changed his mind concerning you, just as he had not changed his mind concerning Israel, because that's who's depicted in Ezekiel 37. This is about Israel. This is about Israel. But just like God had not changed his mind concerning his chosen, he still has not changed his mind concerning you. And may I prophesy in your life today that it is time for you to arise and shine, for the light has come and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Who told you that you went too far? Who told you that God does not care enough to send anybody for you? Because he sent me to come after you today. And if I got to wade through the water to find you, if I got to come to the crack house to pull you out, if I got to come to the bed that you ain't got no business in to pull you out, God sent a word that I love you so much, I refuse to leave you where you're at. I'm telling you, I'm over here minding my own business, preparing for my next episode. None of this is on my mind. And the Lord said, I want you to go live and I want you to pull somebody out. Sometimes you feel like you went too far. That's what the enemy will say to you. The enemy will tell you that you went too far. The enemy will say that God does not care. Where did that come from? It came straight from the enemy. Who told you that you were unredeemable? Who told you that you strayed too far away from the principles and things of God, that God does not love you anymore? Who told you that you went too far? You've not went too far. May I submit to you that you went just far enough. You did like my children did in the store. You went just far enough to see what it feels like to be out from up under his protection. And when you see what it feels like to be out from up under his protection, you never want to feel that again. See, God is only obligated to protect obedience. He does not anoint or protect sin. And see, when you're up under his care, and when you're up under his obedience, when you obey God, that's what I'm looking for. When you obey God, God is obligated to protect. But when you get out from up under that ark of safety, he's no longer obligated to protect. So like the prodigal son, when he came to the end of himself, when he came back to his father's house, his father didn't ask him where you been. His father didn't care how dirty he was. His father didn't care what he smelled like. His father was so glad to have his son back. My God. The father's just waiting. He's just waiting. He's just waiting. He's just waiting. Because he don't want you to believe the lie that I wouldn't send anybody for you. The psalmist said, if I make my bed in hell, thou art there. If he said, if I descend to the heavens, he said, behold, thou art there. And if I make my bed in hell, he said, behold, you are there. I prophesy that the shame of your past is over. I prophesy that you are the righteousness of God. I say, stand up and remember when God called you and what he called you to. My God. Shake yourself. Shake the dust off of yourself. Stand up, woman of God. Stand up, man of God. Take your rightful place. Remember what God called you to do. Remember what he pulled you out of. You never want to go back to what God delivered you from. God loved you enough that he sent me to go into the valley and pull them out. And he said, when you get there, don't tell them that I've forsaken them, because I never did. But tell them that I love them beyond what they could ever imagine. I don't care where you're at. I don't care how dry your situation is. Remember, I read that verse 2 says, and when he calls me to pass round about them, and behold, there were many that were in an open valley. He said they were in an open valley, and lo, they were very dry. So some of you think because your situation is very dry that it cannot ever live again. But maybe in the natural it couldn't. But because God is a miracle working God, because God breathes the Ruach breath of life. Oh, yes, that's God. That's what he does. The Ruach, the Spirit of God, the breath of God, the wind of God. That is what it means. God is ready to breathe back into your life and cause men and women to look at you and say, look what the Lord has done. I know where they were because I was there with them. But God picked them up and God changed them. Come on back. Come on back. Come on back. Come on back. I'm almost done. I don't know how long I've been on here, but I just got on here to tell you that no matter how dry your situation is, the Lord has need of you. No matter how bad it looks right now, no matter who told you that God does not love you, it's a lie from the pits of hell. No matter who told you that you went too far, I'm telling you, you just went far enough to see what it feels like to be out from up under his protection. And now the Lord is saying, come on back. I got open arms. I love you, and I'm ready to accept you back. Whatever the enemy told you, whatever lie he told you, I come to tell you today, don't believe the lie of the enemy. God has come to breathe into your situation. God has invested too much in you, and he fully expects a return on his investment. When you make an investment, you don't want to come back and see your investment lost. You want to see a return on your investment, and God fully expects a return on his investment. I come to tell you that he loves you enough to send somebody after you. I'm coming for you today. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for the one that say God don't love me. I'm coming for the one that feeling lost. I'm coming for the one that feel like they so deep in sin that nobody loves them. I want you to just feel this hug that I'm giving you right now. Lay on my shoulder. That's all right. Go ahead. Cry it out. Whatever you got to do. Get it out so you can get up and live. I'm coming for the one that the enemy said God will never use you. I want you to know God gonna take that mess and give you a message. Hey, God gonna use what you're in right now, because what you're going through right now is a story for somebody else. God's gonna use it. But I want you to realize this is the last day. I prophesy. This is the last day that you'll spend in the valley of dry bones. God loves you, and so do I. Remember, no matter what lie the enemy sold you, it's just that. It's a lie. Be blessed.